Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all present.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is administrative report. Mr. Covington.
I have no report, Mr. Mayor, but the city attorney, I think, has new information I'd like to share with the council.
Okay.
Yes, for the record, Larry Warren, city attorney. We have, for a new council year, a couple of appeals pending before the council, and thought it would be good to go over very quickly and roughly the council procedure and a few comments about the legalities of appeals to the council. One of the principal things to remember is that the whole process is kind of contrary to your normal position as city council members. You're supposed to be, in most instances, taking information from the public, listening to your constituents, and keeping an open mind. And when you're sitting as a quasi-judicial appeal body, you're limited to the record. You're supposed to not have ex parte contact, that is contact outside of the actual meetings where the appeal is being discussed. You're supposed to limit yourself to the record that's been developed in front of the hearing examiner. So the process is entirely different. The actual city code section is section 4-8-110F. And the procedure the council establishes, once you get an appeal in, it's referred to the Planning and Development Committee, or on certain occasions, when the council decides to do so, to refer to the Committee of the Whole. Your review is limited to the record that is created before the hearing examiner, and no new testimony or evidence is allowed. So, interestingly enough, this evening, as I was getting ready to come over the meeting, I was checking my email, and we have correspondence that's going to be referred tonight about an appeal that's pending, and two of the items cites to new evidence. You're supposed to be a closed record appeal before the city council, so you're not supposed to entertain new evidence. I mentioned no ex parte communication, which means no grocery store aisles, no social occasion, chat up by somebody that's for or against the matter that's on appeal. If you do have those occasions and you think any information has been given to you that pertains to the appeal, then the best thing you can do is disclose that information, the fact of the contact and the content of the information on the record, so that the opposing side has a chance to rebut the information you might have received, or at least make objection to the introduction of new evidence. That's why we have on the agendas during the pendency of the appeals that there's no audience comment taken during the council meeting, so there can be no new testimony submitted in guise of audience comments. Basically, you're sitting as an appellate court. You've got a court below, the hearing examiner, that's made a decision based upon the evidence in front of the hearing examiner, and you're supposed to be reviewing that record and the decision, and you are to reverse or modify the ruling only if there is a substantial error of fact or law. And if you do decide to reverse or modify the decision, you must adopt supporting findings and conclusions so that your decision is explained. You're sitting as an appellate court, and then you would have to determine exactly why you found a substantial error of fact or law. During the entire process, one of the key things you must remember is the appearance of fairness doctrine applies to you. That is, you must not only be fair during the appeal, but you must appear to an unbiased, neutral observer as if you are being fair. So it's not a good idea to make comments like, my mind is already made up, I really don't want to hear that, comments of that nature. A judicial demeanor, listen to the comments that are made, ask questions, if you will, that pertain to the matter, but don't appear to prejudge the issue. There if there is a conflict of interest, you need to disclose that and recuse yourself. And that means you totally absent yourself from the council chambers or the committee meeting during the time when the matter is being discussed. You can't sit at the back of the room and make faces to show that you don't like what's going on or whatever. I think anyone on this council would do that, but there have been reported cases where council members stood in the back of the chambers when they'd recuse themselves and mugged a little bit what their feelings were about the particular matter. A conflict of interest would be, say, you're a major shareholder in a corporation that was proposing a development. If you own a little Boeing stock, and it's a Boeing issue, that's not going to be a conflict of interest. You just can't, at least to my knowledge of it, you can't control enough Boeing stock to really be influential part of the Boeing shareholders. If you happen to be a partner in a piece of property that's proposed for development, that would be a conflict of interest. If your property would be nearby or adjacent and the land values would go substantially up or down, you probably have a conflict of interest that should be disclosed. There is an interesting rule that if a majority of you feel like you're conflicted, then you're all going to have to sit for the hearing, and that's called the rule of necessity. You still have to have somebody to make the decision, and you would all be back on the case. If you feel like you have a conflict of interest or you cannot appear to be fair or you have your mind made up, you should disclose it and recuse yourself. It's better to be transparent and disclose than to be caught afterwards and try and explain yourself. And my last comment is, if you have any questions about any of this, I went through this very quickly. If you have any questions, you know what my phone number is and my email address. Please contact me, and I'd be happy to go into this in much greater detail if necessary.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Zwicker.
just a point of clarification, Mr. Warren. This applies to not just the 3 committee members that are actually hearing appeal, but to all council members.
It applies to all council members.
Thank you.
Any other council members have questions of Larry Warren?
You might note, Mr. Mayor and Council, that this matter was scheduled before the Committee of the Whole. I don't know whether or not that it was referred to Committee of the Whole, excuse me. If you have any follow-up matters that you wish to discuss the Committee of the Whole, then we could schedule a time. If you do not, then when it's an appropriate time, you might report it out of committee so that you can take it off your pending list.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Zwicker.
Yeah, I believe that the issue that's been referred is to Community and Economic Development to review changing or the idea on that the council may be able to opt out of an appeal.
Yes,
That's the pending.
we've done some study. We could report out on that.
I think that's the
when you
pending
wish.
referral. I think
All
that was
right, fine.
informational.
That's good clarification for me. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to audience comment. We have a couple people signed up to address the council. When I call your name, please come to the podium, give your name and city of residence for the record, and you have 5 minutes. We have a timer next to the city clerk. Beatrice Clark.
Greetings to the mayor and all of you on the council. My name is Beatrice Clark, C-L-A-R-K. And first, before I begin my report, I want to say happy Black History Month to each of you. February is nationally designated as the month to find out the contributions of African Americans to this country, and I just wanted to share that with you. I came here on December 12th, and I brought an issue about the King County library systems, and I don't really know how your board works, but I do know that since King County Library has annexed with Renton, that you must have some oversight or interest in what's going on. And when I was here before, I didn't have all my documentations together because there was a report I needed from a person that was a witness to all these claims that were in the letter that you all have received. And she is my granddaughter, and she came home in December, and she wrote an affidavit, and she took it to King County Library's offices in Issaquah, and all the other documents, I received a copy, have been filed already. So I'm going to start at the, my sign. Excuse me. I have come tonight to speak about the King County Library systems, but from a different perspective than you have been hearing. We hold these signs, and it's forthcoming, to be evidence that all King County Library system patrons are not treated equally. We have evidence that the sixth seed of racism, racial profiling, white privilege, discrimination, lies, and corruption has seeped down from the top to those at the bottom. We have evidence that the president of King County Library System and the president of the Board of Trustees, who is, I know has changed positions now, but I'm referring to him because he was there when all of this happened. And he's a judge on the Superior Court, which was disturbing to me, because if a judge isn't going to listen to all sides of a story, I don't know what's going on in his courtroom. It could be very, very devastating to certain people. And along with that, that's just a portion of it, and I'm going to leave a copy of that. And I'm going to leave a copy of the pamphlet that I wrote up, and it says Renton King County Library Systems need to clean house. Just like I read in the paper that you're cleaning house out in the north end of Seattle. I'm sorry, Renton. I lived in Seattle years before I came here. And you want to clean up the north end of Renton. These agencies need to be cleaned up. And as a result of this incident, I write a lot of letters to editors, not just to Renton Reporter, but I've done that for years, and that's what I do, and you guys have received some of my letters. So, when the people went to take the affidavit out to Issaquah, other comments were made that added insult to injury, and I sent you those letters as well, and this came from the president of King County Library System. Aside from that, there was another column in the paper that I sent a letter to address, and because it kind of referred to King County Library Systems, he said that I was trying to slip it in. You know, the language itself is debasing to tell me, a writer, that I got to slip something into a newspaper that Renton City Council has designated as the official paper for your council in Renton. And as a citizen, I feel that I'm entitled to use that. And I met with him and another person, we met with them, and he says that other than I was trying to slip it in, I said that's censorship. So that's another issue that I have put on the table, that the Renton Reporter decides that they want to censor my letters because they don't want King County Library Systems mentioned, or as they said, I'm mad because they didn't do a story, which I never asked them to do. So I'm bringing these issues to you today so that you can, I'm not here for a photo op, and I'm not here because I want to keep coming back. I don't know how this board operates, but I feel that in your position, in cleaning up the city, you need to work to clean up situations like that happens in the community, and you really need to clean house. I was in the community with these signs, and I have been in the community talking to people, and the people in Renton are beautiful people. And you get these bad apples, and if nothing is done about it, y'all don't want to end up on YouTube with one of those incidents that happened last summer. You don't want that to happen, so the way to avoid that is to take care of the business, that when it's brought to you, take care of the problems. They might be ugly, they might be dirty, but it's what's going on. And they send these letters out that tells you the matter is closed. Well, how are you going to close a matter that affects me and people who look like me just because you don't want to deal with it? And that's my primary reason for bringing this to the board.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Clark.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Taylor.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure how this should be directed. I know we've got a KCLS, we've got an advisory board that it serves as a liaison between the community and KCLS, but I would like to have some assurance that Mrs. Clark is directed to the proper department, committee to learn more about what her grievance is.
I know KCLS has their own board of directors. The advisory board that we have is strictly about I don't know, Terry, if you can, it's issues that we would find that the community might be interested. I don't know how it interfaces with the KCLS board. Doesn't interface, so, we'll explore that, Mr. Terry. I'm not real sure what role, if any, the advisory board could play with that.
Or the appropriate contact, and could someone contact Mrs. Clark to give her some assurance that we're at least trying to learn more about what her concern is, and at least point her in the right direction to a place where she can get a little bit more traction.
Okay, will do.
And also consider the item that I mentioned of censorship, because that's your newspaper. And I want to be free as any citizen to write whether they think these issues should be aired in the public or not, because when I come here, I know they're going to be aired in the public.
Mr. Mayor, on that particular item, the city has no control over the free press, and it's a independent business. We have no ability to affect what they put in the paper. In fact, if we did try and influence the content of the newspaper, it would be the city violating the newspaper's constitutional rights. So we have no direct control over the newspapers. If they choose to publish something, that's their choice. If they choose not to, it's their choice.
And if they discriminate, there are other avenues that it can be dealt with. So if you guys don't, that's fine, but this is just plan A. My son-in-law, he was an attorney, he said always have a plan B, so I just said I'm bringing it to you, and if they can't handle it, there are other agencies that they can be reported to, so thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you, council members.
Next is,
Mr. Mayor, just another question. I'm just curious, and Terry, correct me, is our library advisory committee board, they are a liaison with our community and KCLS, and they do communicate with KCLS some of the concerns that our community has regarding library services. Am I correct in that?
That's correct.
So would it have any benefit for Ms. Clark to at least express her grievance with them, being that they are the voice that would go to the KCLS board, and to maybe articulate what Mrs. Clark is trying to say as a gesture of something that we can do with our communication group here in Renton?
Excuse me. Terry Yashiyama, Community Services Administrator. I think there's a sort of a conflict of where I would think that Mrs. Clark's dealings would be with the trustees of the King County Library System on a personnel issue and how she was treated. Our task is to work with the operations of the library and how it represents from our citizens. So it's a little gray area there, and I'd have to work with Mr. Warren to make sure that we can certainly look at the best way that we can support and find the best way to move this forward.
And my concern is that we are to our extent within our legal realm, offer her an interest of hearing what her concern is, and maybe pointing her to the appropriate, like you're mentioning right now, the trustee board, so that she can express what her
Certainly.
grievance is.
So let me do some research on that so I can see where we can best help with that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Terry. Next is Linda Sweezer. Did you want to speak, or?
I did. Well, oh my God. That's right.
Please give your name, city of residence for the record, and then you have 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. My name is Linda Sweezer, and I'm a resident of the city of Kent, the new city of Kent. I used to be unincorporated King County, so I didn't belong anywhere for a long time. And I'm supporting Beatrice Clark, and my thing It's the only thing is, I'm just here because I'm supporting someone that I'm very empathetic to what she has experienced, because I've experienced it for a very long time in so many ways, and sometimes you just have to digest and eat what you experience, and it doesn't digest very well. You have to eat it, but it just doesn't digest very well. So I'm just so excited that we have an opportunity to express ourselves and to come out and express our frustration in our community, because this is a community that we're trying to build unity and support for one another. And knowledge is power, and if you can't go to the library to obtain knowledge, that's a really sad thing. And that's all I wanted to do, was be supportive of someone.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next is the consent agenda. We have 14 items for council consideration. Are there any items a council member would like pulled for discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Zwicker.
Hearing none, I move that the council concur with the consent agenda. Second?
It's been moved by Mr. Zwicker, seconded by Mr. Corman. The council concur with the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next is unfinished business. Mr. Zwicker.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Committee of the Whole has 2 committee reports.
Committee of the Whole Committee Report, Reassignment of Assistant CAO Responsibilities and Establishment of Administrative Services Department. The Committee of the Whole recommends modification of the assignments for various city departments to assume the responsibilities of the vacant Assistant CAO position and the organization of City Clerk's Office, Finance Division, and Information Technology Division into a new Administrative Services Department under Ewan Wang, Department Administrator, effective January 1, 2012. The change will also increase the Records Management Specialist position in the Office of the City Clerk from half-time to full-time in order to provide overall records management and administrative support to the increasingly complex public records requests and contracted hearing examiner duties, also effective January 1, 2012. The committee further recommends that the ordinance reflecting the above organizational changes be presented for first reading, and that the related budget and position changes be included in the first quarter budget amendment for 2012, signed by the council president.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Zwicker.
move that the council concur in the Committee of the Whole committee report.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Zwicker, seconded by Ms. Breyer, that council concur with the Committee of the Whole Committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Committee of the Whole Committee Report, Council Travel and Expenses Policy. The Committee of the Whole deliberated on various procedures related to council travel and other business expenses. The committee hereby approves the following processes and procedures and further directs the administration to update city policies and procedures as appropriate and implement the same. Regional appointments and meeting attendance. Regional appointments will be discussed at regularly scheduled Committee of the Whole meetings, and reports will be provided at regular council meetings. The appointed council members will be expected to participate and attend these locally held meetings with no additional approval needed. Similarly, no additional approval is needed for council member attendance at regular or standing membership meetings of either the Association of Washington Cities or Suburban Cities Association, which are held locally. As appropriate and practical, appointed council members should bring regional policies back to full council for discussion to formulate Renton's specific interest positions. Council members' participation in other regional committees forums will be served in an unofficial capacity on their own time, utilizing their own resources. Travel and training coordination. Information about seminars, conferences, and other training opportunities, including those offered by regional committees forums, will be made available and discussed at Committee of the Whole or regular council meetings under the new business section. With concurrence of the City Council, attending council members will arrange registration and travel through the council liaison. Council expenses approval. Council member expense reimbursement requests should be approved by council president or pro tem for payment. This is signed by the council president.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr.
I
Zwicker.
move the council concur in the Committee of the Whole committee report. Second?
Been moved by Mr. Zwicker, seconded by Mr. Corman, that council concur with the Committee of Whole Committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
That is all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Breyer.
Yes, Finance Committee has 2 committee reports.
Finance Committee report, approval of claims and payroll vouchers. The Finance Committee approves for payment on February 6, 2012, claim vouchers 309-351 through 309-759, and 8 wire transfers totaling $7,806,472.86, and payroll vouchers include 1,492 direct deposits, 119 payroll checks, and 2 wire transfers totaling $5,315,591.05. This is signed by the 3 committee members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Breyer.
I move that council concur with the Finance Committee report.
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Breyer, seconded by Mr. Taylor, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Finance Committee report, knotweed control on the Cedar River project. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the 2011 agreement for award for the landowner collaboration for knotweed control on the Cedar River project with the King Conservation District in the amount of $168,604. The King Conservation District grant will provide the city $89,254 to leverage costs of this partnership project with the Friends of the Cedar River Watershed, a not-for-profit conservation organization. The City of Renton in-kind contribution for labor, equipment, and materials is $79,350. The Friends of the Cedar River Watershed in-kind contribution for landowner training and education, contracting, and other costs is $6,654. Volunteers will provide much of the restoration planting labor at a value of $8,700. The project is expected to begin during the spring of 2012 and to be completed by the end of 2012. A separate agreement for services will be executed with the Friends of the Cedar River Watershed in January of 2012. The committee further recommends that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the agreement. This is signed by the 3 committee members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms.
I
Breyer.
move that council concur with the committee report.
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Pardon me. It's been moved by Ms. Breyer, seconded by Mr. Taylor, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay.
That's all I have.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Prince?
My name is, no unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Person?
No unfinished business.
Okay. Ms. Palmer?
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Corman?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have 2 Transportation Committee reports to present.
Transportation Aviation Committee report, portable tow-away signs placed by contractors. The Transportation Aviation Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to require contractors doing projects impacting public right-of-way to indemnify and hold harmless the City of Renton from any and all claims, actions, and judgments arising from towing of private vehicles as the result of implementing a city-approved traffic control plan. The City of Renton will revise its traffic control plan form to include a statement describing this action and requirement. The contractor will be required to complete the TCP and attach a copy of it to each barricade used at the construction site for public notification of the temporary no parking tow-away zone restriction 72 hours in advance of the project start date. This is signed by the 3 committee members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Corman?
I move the council concur in the committee report.
Second?
Been moved by Mr. Corman, seconded by Ms. Palmer. The council concur with the Transportation Committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Transportation Aviation Committee report, URS contract for airport, on-call, architectural engineering services. The Transportation Aviation Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the standard consultant agreement with URS Corporation in the amount of $172,600 for airport, on-call, architectural engineering services, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the agreement. This is signed by the 3 committee members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Corman?
I move that council concur in the Transportation Committee report.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Corman, seconded by Mr. Person, that council concur with the Transportation Aviation Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
And that's all my unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to resolutions and ordinances, we have 1 resolution and...
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, yes.
Wanna ask
Oh,
me?
I'm sorry, Mr. Taylor. You are still here. Mr. Taylor, do you have any unfinished business?
I have no unfinished business.
Sorry I missed you. Okay, now we'll move to resolutions and ordinances. We have one resolution and 4 ordinances. Let's see.
Resolution regards an interlocal agreement with King County for provision of services. A resolution of the City of Renton, Washington, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an interlocal agreement with King County for provision of services by the King County Road Services Division.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Zwicker.
I move that the resolution be adopted as read.
Second?
It's been moved by Mr. Zwicker, second by Ms. Palmer, that this resolution be adopted as read. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
One ordinance for first reading regards establishing the Administrative Services Department. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending Section 314 of Chapter 1, Executive Department, Sections 343 and 345 of Chapter 4, Finance and Information Technology Department of Title 3, Departments and Officers, and Titles 1 through 10 of Ordinance number, and 1 through 10 of Ordinance Number 4260, which is City Code, by changing all references to Finance and Information Technology to Administrative Services and moving the City Clerk's office to the Administrative Services Department.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Zwicker.
I move this ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Zwicker, seconded by Mr. Corman, that this ordinance be placed on second and final reading at the next council meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
There are 3 ordinances for second and final reading. The first regards a code amendment regarding tow and impound hearings. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending Section 1057 of Chapter 5, Impoundment and Redemption of Vehicles of City Code by adding a new subsection, 1057E, allowing a written statement by the owner of the motor vehicle in lieu of an appearance at a post-impoundment hearing.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
I move the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second?
Been moved by Mr. Person, seconded by Mr. Zwicker, that this ordinance be adopted as read. Requires a roll call.
Mr. Zwicker?
Aye.
Ms. Breyer?
Aye.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Person?
Aye.
Ms. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Corman?
Aye.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor. All ayes.
The ayes have it. Thank you.
The second ordinance for second and final reading regards a code amendment regarding revisions to City Codes, Chapter 6, Title 6, Chapter 18. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending Chapter 18 Penal Code of Title 6 Police Regulations of City Code, clarifying and strengthening the Penal Code by revising Section 618.5, Dangerous Weapons, Evidence 618.11, Breach of the Public Peace 618.19, Making or Having Auto Theft Tools, and 618.20, Park Rules and Regulations violations, and permitting offenses to be charged and plead guilty to under the Renton Municipal Code by adding 7 new sections: adjournment of contemplation of dismissal, criminal accomplice, criminal attempt, criminal coercion, criminal conspiracy, criminal defense of insanity, and criminal solicitation.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Person.
I move the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second?
Been moved by Mr. Person, seconded by Mr. Zwicker, that this ordinance be adopted as read and requires a roll call.
Mr. Zwicker?
Aye.
Ms. Breyer?
Aye.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Person?
Aye.
Ms. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Corman?
Aye.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor. All ayes.
The ayes have it.
And the last ordinance for second and final reading regards a code amendment for Title 1, Chapter 3. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending Section 611 and 613 of Title 6 Police Regulations and 816 of Chapter 1 Garbage of Title 8 Health and Sanitation of City Code, correcting the references to the revised Chapter 1-3 Renton Municipal Code.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
I move the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Person, seconded by Mr. Zwicker, that this ordinance be adopted as read. Requires a roll call.
Mr. Zwicker?
Aye.
Ms. Breyer?
Aye.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Person?
Aye.
Ms. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Corman?
Aye.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor. All ayes.
The ayes have it. Thank you, Bonnie. Moving on to new business, Mr. Zwicker.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to announce a meeting of the Committee of the Whole on Monday, February 13th, 2012, beginning at 6 p.m. and being held in the Council Conferencing Center one topic only, and that is school impact fees. That is all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Barrera?
Yes, next Monday, February 13th, the Finance Committee will meet from 3 to 4:30. We have 6 items: vouchers, high school golf team fee waiver request, utility billing adjustment request, G&K services, the Tiffany Cascade Connector, sewer charge waiver request for Oil Can Henry's, and the PSC utility building adjustment request. So we'll be busy.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Prince?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have a Planning Development Committee meeting on Thursday, February 9th from 4 to 5 p.m. in the council conference room. We'll be discussing the Housing Opportunity Fund for RHA and the CED work program and schedule. That is all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Person?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Public Safety Committee will meet next Monday, February 13th in the council conference room. We have one item. It's the Disaster Recovery Plan adoption. And then I'd also like to move the referral to the Public Safety Committee on liquor license procedures, so that the reasoning is, I think that I'd like to take a look at what we could do to maybe help us get a little bit more control of how liquor licenses are given.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Person, seconded by Mr. Corman, that the topic about liquor license procedures be referred to the Public Safety Committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, Ms. Palmer?
Yes, next Monday, February 13th, the Community Services Committee will meet from 5 to 5:30 p.m. 2 items on the agenda. The first is housing repair assistance, and the second is human services grant selection process.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Corman?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just want to announce that the regularly scheduled Transportation Committee meeting for February 9th has been canceled.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Taylor?
Here we go again. Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Utilities Committee, we will be meeting on February the 13th from 5:30 to 6 p.m., and we will be discussing the Liberty Lift Station project. I also just want to mention that on January the 27th, very early in the morning, about ODARC 100, some volunteers got together to do the one-night count, and our council was represented by Councilmember Prince, Palmer, Councilmember Zwicker's wife was represented him there, and the count was higher this year than before. We were, if you count the same areas, the number was about 72 more individuals higher. There was several new areas that were added in, and if you factor those in, we counted an additional 150 people, and that's countywide. So again, you know, that just resonates with the fact that, you know, there are a lot of people out there hurting, and, you know, as we had in our Committee of the Whole report, you know, the appropriate funding of certain agencies can make a difference, and that is all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor. Okay, moving on to audience comment. Is there anybody who didn't have a chance to address the council who wants to speak to the council?
Move we adjourn?
Second?
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Zwicker, second by Mr. Corman, that we adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.